We'll save it. Let's see how the countdown. What the fuck? There was no countdown today.
It was like 6-5, and then it went away.
It's back to its own regular bullshit. It was getting better here. It was getting better from week to week, and then with this bullshit again. Anywho, all right, guys, welcome to the seventh, right? Seven, right? That's how it goes.
So seventh,
all right, seventh episode of the Sentence to Greatness podcast. We got one of our Condemned Lab athletes on today as a guest, Mr. Coty Losee. How are you doing, brother?
Sir.
I'm good, guys. How are you?
Good.
I'm good, man.
Hanging in there.
How's prep going, man? I know you're 2 weeks out now?
13 days.
13 days.
13 days.
You know it's close.
Shoot, I could tell you hours if you needed me to.
Hey, what show are you doing?
I'm doing the Clash, the All South in Orlando.
In Orlando.
Okay.
All right, where are you from? Or where do you live right now?
I'm in Indianapolis.
Indianapolis. Oh, nice little travel time. Gonna go on vacation after the show?
We are. It's my daughter's birthday on the 5th, and my show's on the 6th. So can't really celebrate. Can't do the cake thing on the 5th. So we're gonna go to Disney World over the weekend and kind of take a couple days to,
heck yes,
relax and hopefully celebrate a win.
How old is her daughter?
Nice,
her daughter or son?
She'll be 5.
Oh, first. That's when things get fun, right there. That's when things get fun. Anywho, so as you mentioned, you're in prep, but let's rewind a little bit. Let's find out a little bit more about you. When did you get into bodybuilding? Were you always an athlete, or did you just?
Yeah. I played football through college, and then in 2010, I was a personal trainer, and I started training a client to do her first show, and she won the overall. And I was kind of like, that was kind of my first experience in the whole bodybuilding world. And I was like, okay, I think I could maybe do this. This would give me something to train for, something to be competitive at.
Right.
And we ended up coming back. She did the show in New Orleans, and we won. That's where she was from. And I got back to town, and I'm like, you know what? Let's pick a show. And 12 weeks later, I jumped on stage for the first time.
Yeah.
Okay. So wait. You ended up you trained her, or you coached her into the show as well?
I trained her. I didn't know the nutrition side yet. I mean, I knew nutrition, but not like bodybuilding nutrition.
Right.
So she had a coach doing her nutrition, but I was at the gym. I was her trainer at the gym, and she's like, "Why don't you come to the show with me? Check this out. I need, be support." So I'm like, yeah, sure. And I got there, and it was kind of my first, outside of reading, Flex and muscular development and all that.
Right.
This was my first in-person experience, and I'm like, okay, this could be something I could get into.
Cool. Yeah, for sure. That's cool, man. I was gonna say, I'm like, whoa, normally it's kind of backwards. Yeah, normally, right. Like most coaches start off like competing, and then obviously they start, taking on clients.
Well, it actually started. She wanted help with her legs, because my leg workouts were always the toughest at the gym. So she's like, I need your help with my legs. Make me have Figure Pro legs. And I'm like, Figure Pro? What's a Figure Pro?
Right.
So I look, and I'm like, all right, we could do that. So I trained her on legs. We did glutes, hamstring, squats twice a week. And we became real good friends. And I kind of started like watching her eat. And I'm like, oh, so it's not like football where we're just eating calories to go out and hit people. Like this, there's okay.
There's
and
right.
And then we did it, and it was like, okay, all right, I'm gonna try it. Let's see what happens. And I got 3rd place. I didn't even do novice. I jumped right into the open at the Indiana State show in 2010. And
that's a big show, right? That's normally a big show,
right? But I had no clue. I'm like, bodybuilding, the whole world was new to me. So I'm like, oh, this show's on, June, whatever. So yeah, that sounds good. Let's jump into there.
Right.
Novice, I don't know what that is. I'll just do the open. That sounds fun.
Yeah. Well, you went both feet in right away. What weight did you do your first show at? Just out of curiosity.
Man, it's crazy. And I'm going to post a throwback on my, my Instagram soon, but, I ended up being a light heavyweight.
Okay.
And I'm I don't know. It depends on what speedway I'm walking out of, but I'm between 6'1" and 6'2", and I was a light heavyweight my first show. Believe it or not.
Oh shit!
I weighed in.
You're pretty.
I mean, I was shredded, but
yeah,
I look like a swimmer.
Hey, so let's see. You wouldn't happen to have a picture from your first show on your Instagram, would you?
I'm sure there is.
Were you wearing? Hold on, I'm scrolling through your Instagram. Were you wearing pink posers at that first one?
I sure was.
Okay, so I think. Oh, there you go. I think we got a little comparison that we're gonna throw up there, and just for the viewers, what weight class or around what weight do you?
There you go.
Around what weight do you think you're gonna be competing this time?
Well, we just today I was 240, so and that was flat. I mean, I'm flat today. We just started putting some carbs back in this morning, so I'm going to guess by the time we're finished, probably around 245-ish.
So we're talking about in the span of how long ago was that?
I mean, I've been competitively, that was my first show in 2010. I've taken several years off. I've had a torn bicep tendon. I had a torn tricep tendon.
Yeah.
So there's been and I also, after that show, I took a year off just to grow because I was like, I can't be competitive at this weight. Absolutely. So after several years off, I mean, overall about 10 years.
So let's say 10 years and we've put on about what, 40 pounds of muscle we're talking, right?
Stage weight.
Yeah. Well, it's a huge difference right there, man. Good for you.
Thank you.
Being able to kind of continue this sport for so many years, on and on and on and on. Most people give up after 5-6 years because it can get draining. The lifestyle can get draining. The constant
burnout.
Yeah. Yep. People get burnt out all the time in the sport. They pop up and you see them disappear. So what are some things that you think have kept you around in the sport and didn't let you get burned out? What is it about you or about your lifestyle or, some of the things that you use to keep your head in the game?
Honestly, I mean, I think there's a lot. I'm a competitor at heart. I always have been. So this kind of gives me, like, I love going to the gym, but this gives you a reason to go to the gym, even on those days you wake up and you're like today, it's nasty as hell outside, but it's a monsoon, it's cold. We go to the gym. I also feel like after my first show, like I just fell in love with the whole, I mean, people like don't like the diet. They don't like the cardio. I fell in love with all of it. I mean, you'll never see me post anything online about complaining or like, yeah, I'm tired. Yeah, I'm drained, but I love the journey, and it's awesome to see kind of what you can do with your body, whether that be on the growing side or when you're dialing it in for the show. It's honestly, it's truly amazing. And I've coached myself up until this year. So watching what you can do, just meticulously changing your own diet. And then this year I ended up hiring someone, and Justin Harris has been doing my nutrition for me throughout this prep. And I mean, the stuff that we've done, it's been really, really remarkable. So for me personally, it's like, it gives me that competitive nature that I need. Yeah. And it just keeps me driven.
Yeah. It's kind of like some people have it, some people don't. Like,
exactly.
I know with myself and Isaac, we both come from like competitive backgrounds. So it just kind of became natural that after we tried bodybuilding, I think for both of us, it just made sense. Like it makes sense in our life where like, if we don't do it, there's something feels like it's missing. You need that competitiveness and that, driving every day to get better for a particular reason, not just, for as like pleasure. It's
not just to go to the beach.
Yeah, you need that competitive side of it where like, let's see how fucking far I could push myself, how good I can get, how much I can hurt doing cardio, how lean I can be this time, or how huge I can get in the off season. It's just it's some people just have it, some people don't, And
so Coty, you said you hired Justin Harris, right?
Correct.
Right. So I know Justin Harris as like the king of carb cycling, and how much different has his diet and his plan been from what you've done in the past leading up to this point?
100% different. I hired him in January of this year after talk, because in 2019 was my last time competing. Last year was just a shit show. So I took the whole year off.
Right.
But in 2019, I did 4 shows. I won 3 and ended up in second call-outs at Nationals. And after last year, I spoke with my fiance, and I'm just like, I think I'm going to hire somebody because my own client list is getting extensive. And I'm like, I want somebody else to have that extra set of eyes. And I've known Justin because he's in Michigan. So actually, I just met with him on Thursday. I was up in Michigan and met with him and posed and stuff. But I've known Justin for years, and I spoke to him, and we just kind of vibed. So I'm like, I'm going to give it a shot. And I've never done carb cycling. In fact, I was very much against carb cycling for most of my life. But the way he has it done, I've actually adapted really well to it. My body's responded really well. We had a great off season, and this prep has honestly, it's been great. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I kind of like the carb cycling thing. I'm going to take back anything bad I've ever said about it.
Right.
Justin, if you're listening, I love you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's good stuff.
So,
stuff.
what do you think, about the carb cycling approach, just for my own personal question, what do you think about that carb cycling approach, is that you like now compared to why were you so against it before?
Before I always looked at it as, in my off season, I'm anywhere between 260 and 280.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, man, I don't want to go on a low day. Like, that just sounds stupid. Why am I going to bring my carbs so low? My energy is going to suck. Like, I'm trying to grow. Why do I want to drop this down? And then, especially during prep, it's like, I've always kept my caloric intake very, very consistent. You have that one refeed meal a week, which is usually sushi. We're actually doing steak tonight, but, I was just very consistent. I like to just kind of have that plan, and I know, okay, this meal I'm eating X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
Meal 3, same thing. With the carb cycling, it gives you a little bit more leeway, a little bit more freedom. So at the beginning, when he first sent me my plan, I'm looking at it like, man, this is like a jigsaw puzzle. So I got to get 200 grams of carbs. And I need 70 grams of protein. Okay. All right. So I could do this much chicken. I could do that. And I was like, man, this is a lot of thinking.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to think. I just want to open this damn email and have it say eat 10 ounces of chicken and 2 cups of rice.
Right.
But after we got going with it, I'm like, I kind of like the idea that, well, if I don't want to eat rice 4 times a day, I can switch that out and I can do, oatmeal, or I could do quinoa, or I could do bagels, and in prep, it's really helped, I feel, because I get to still have, like today, I get a high carb day. Yeah. First one. So my body's loving it, and I'm just feeding off these carbs, and I'm still being able to maintain such a crazy leanness while having these days that, just an abundance. Yeah. Whereas if I was doing just a consistent diet, my carbs would be much, much lower every single day. Yeah. To try to maintain that same size and leanness. So it's been a learning process for me, but I've approached it with a very, very open mind. And I think that's really helped. We talked about it a lot on Thursday, and it's been eye opening to me. It's a different aspect, which is what I wanted when I hired a coach. I wanted to kind of see a different view and a different way things work. So I think that it's actually changed my physique a little bit from the last time I was on stage to this time. It's a huge difference. I was looking at pictures the week of Nationals compared to 3 weeks out from this show. I'm bigger, I'm leaner. I mean, it's crazy. Yeah. So
you look good, man. You look good. Definitely.
Thank you. Sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
So like, it's weird because is it more like when he's letting you swap out your own foods and like kind of pick and choose your own stuff? Because that probably helps, where it almost feels like you're not in prep, really. You're not stuck to the same shit day after day after day.
Absolutely, because I mean, he gives me a food list. Like, okay, these things are acceptable on these days. These things are not acceptable. Like today, I can do fruit juice as 50% of my carbs at each meal if I really wanted to. Well, I like grape juice and I like orange juice, so that makes consuming my carbs a little bit more fun today.
Yeah.
Right.
So it makes it, because in a normal prep, in the other 9 years that I've been competing, I would have never in a million years had orange juice during prep.
Now, here's the flip side of the coin, right? Like,
okay,
me as a coach, I personally don't trust 3/4 of my competitors with that. I really don't. Like, I wouldn't. I wouldn't trust 3/4 of the people with that. So, like, isn't that sort of a plan only good for, in my opinion, for specific types of people? The more experienced type of people, the people that know how to keep their shit in check and not go fucking insane when they can, swap out, let's say half a bagel. What was going to stop them from being like, hey, I could just have the whole fucking thing. Who's going to know? You know what I mean? So, like, isn't that a great approach for some people, but for majority of the people, that's a hard thing to do for majority of the people.
I 100% agree with you. As a coach myself, I'm not, I would say probably even more than 3/4. I'm not trusting with that.
Yeah.
Just because you're 100% right. If you give somebody a little bit of leeway, next thing you know, they're eating Pop-Tarts instead of rice because they're like, oh, well, this is 38 grams of carbs and you said I could have that. So why not a Pop-Tart?
Right. Yeah.
No, I completely agree. That I think it's like anything really. I mean, if you're going to be a good competitor, it doesn't matter who your coach is, what your nutrition plan is, what supplements you're taking. If you don't put in the effort, it doesn't really matter. I mean, Big Ramy could work with, 90% of the good coaches and do the exact same things he's doing with Nichols.
But
Nichols
he did fail with a few other coaches.
Right. But it's also been proven that he cheated on his diet quite a bit too with the other coaches. So
exactly,
it was like he can have the best genetics and he's a freak, but if he can't do all the little meticulous things to get ready, that he's going to spill no matter how good the coach's plan is. Because at the end of the day, every coach's plan, it all kind of consumes around the same thing. We're eating carbs, fats, and proteins, and we're doing some cardio. Like that's the gist of everything that we do. It's just, how is your body going to respond to it? And are you going to do all the little things? Are you going to cheat yourself out of 3 minutes of cardio every day? Like, what? I'm running a little late for work. I better get going. You cut 3 minutes off your session every single day. At the end of the week, that's 21 minutes. So, I mean, it's the little things. Same thing with the rice. You get a cup of rice, but, I'm a little hungrier. I'm going to add just a little bit. That it won't matter at the end of the week. But if you do that in every single meal, it's going to definitely add up in the end of the week. So I feel like same thing with my clients. I'm not trusting most of them with the freedom to choose. I have several that I am doing that with, that I've kind of incorporated it, and they've done exceptionally well. And I've had a couple I've had to take back off of it because things started going the other way. So I completely agree.
Yeah. Well, then on top of that, you have to take into consideration their ability to properly, count the amounts of carbs, count the amounts of fats, the proteins, measure it correctly. There's just so many variables in that it does take a more experienced person in that aspect to do that plan correctly.
Right.
There's just too many variables that are put into play. But, I think it's a cool approach for somebody that's I've never done it that way. I'm the type of person, like, my shit is just, A to Z. It's black and white. That's the way I've prepped all the time. I don't have like substitutes where I could substitute this or substitute that. That's just the way I've done it. And for me personally, I think I'll like it. It just, to me, the less thinking I do in my own prep, the better off I am. Cause I'm a mental fuck when it comes to prepping. I'm just a fucking nutcase. My logic just goes out the window at some point in prep. I don't know at what point. It's probably like halfway through. It usually goes out the window. So I like my shit black and white. Hey, woo! Stop smirking back there, motherfucker. But anywho, how are you in prep, man? I know like prep can be tough. You mentioned you got it. I know you mentioned you have a daughter, right? So that in itself is a whole another, fucking hurdle that, we deal with at home is having kids. What do you do to stay sane? Are you a type of a person that like, are you edgy? Are you anxious? Do you get angry? Like, how are you in prep, man?
Honestly, for the most part, I'm pretty mellow. I don't really get angry. I get hangry, especially if like I have a plan I'm going to eat and that plan starts to get pushed a little bit. I start getting real irritable. But for the most part, I mean, throughout my entire career as a bodybuilder, most people would tell you like they don't really see a difference. Of course, you get drained those last few weeks where you're just there. But I don't know. I mean, I think it's more, bodybuilding to me is just as much, if not more mental than it is physical. And it's all just how you kind of look at things. I mean, I know nobody's forcing me to do this, so I'm not going to take it out on anybody else on a day I'm not feeling good or I'm just tired or whatever, because it's not my daughter's fault. It's not my fiance's fault. It's not my mom's fault. So it's, it's nobody's fault. I want to be a great bodybuilder, so I'm going to eat the way I eat, go do cardio, train, get up at 5 a.m. to go do cardio. I mean, I look at it like we said earlier. I fell in love with the whole thing, so I absolutely love the whole journey of process, whatever that is.
So, so what you're saying, you don't need a lot of like, you're as you're going through prep, you just kind of keep that mindset in the back of your head, like, oh, they're not making me do this. I can't punish other people around me for it, type of deal.
I look at it as, I want to do this. Like at the end of the day, I'm jumping on stage on November 6th. This is for me. This is what I want to do. And I'm not going to push any negativity on anybody else. Cause honestly, I want as little negativity in my life, especially during prep, as possible. So if at all possible, I'm going to keep it out. And just focus. I mean, like you said, I get the same way. My prep brain starts going at about halfway through, and all it is it's kind of like Hunter LeBron, it's win the day. Yeah. And that's what I say all the time is it's each little thing. It's first, it's wake up and do your cardio. It's get that meal in. Then it's to the next thing, whatever that is. Even if it's just taking my daughter to gymnastics on Monday nights. Yeah. It's like, okay, so I got to get to the gym because I got to knock this out so I can get her to gymnastics. Yeah. Then eat this next meal. But it's just winning each little event throughout the day. And I mean, that kind of just keeps my mind busy. So I don't really get anxious or irritable. My only problem is I like to go prep shopping. I get on my phone and Amazon's delivering packages like every damn day. Yeah, man. Some shit that I don't even want to buy, but next thing you know, I'm like, oh, I need one of those.
Yeah.
Bro, I'm dealing with that on a regular fucking basis. My fucking wife. My wife is, man, I swear to God, it's a package like every few hours now. I'm like, what the fuck is this shit, man?
Yeah, that's the way I get as well. Like towards the end of prep, like since I can't keep myself entertained, like because those last 2 weeks where you're pretty much just, it seems like the time just slows down in half. Like it's a day is like a month to you. So as you get closer, I'm like, how do I keep myself happy and entertained? Well, let's buy shit.
Exactly.
Let's buy shit that we don't need, that we're gonna use for 5 minutes, or a pair of shoes that I'll probably wear once or maybe twice because I already have 30 other pairs of shoes. But that's exactly.
Don't get me started on that. I have over 100 pairs of shoes.
Yeah, there you go.
Shoes. I'm a sneakerhead.
Yeah. So it's like we entertain ourselves with all this weird stuff, and then towards the end of it, it's like, what the fuck, man? I don't need half of this. But at the time, it sounds great. It's like the same thing with. Absolutely. I don't know if you guys ever done that. Like towards the end of prep, like I'll start following a bunch of food places, right? And as soon as I'm done with my prep, I'm scrolling through like my Instagram, I'm like unfollowing every other food place. So I'm like, what the fuck is it all food? It's all food. Right. And I just start unfollowing all of them as soon as I'm out of prep. So it's like, it's like we battle this funny thing in bodybuilding where like me and Isaac were talking about this the other day, actually. It's like when we're in prep, where looking forward to, you know, the high days, a refeed, some kind of a meal outside of our, you know, plan. Like we live for those things, right? And then when we're in the off season, it's like Isaac was just talking the other day. Oh, these low carb days, you know, like I'm going to do a mini cut or whatever. Those sound great right now. Like, and I was like, fuck, it does sound good right now to pull back and, you know, get a little bit leaner. It's like, we're always like going back and forth how our mentality changes of like what we want and how we need, depending like where we are in our season. And then it's like, you get to your prep and then you're like, fuck, I should have had that extra cheat meal, you know, because I'm not going to have that for months now.
Exactly.
It's just funny how like our mentality, like you think, you know, you're a weird one by thinking that, but then you talk to all the other bodybuilders and they're the exact same thing. Like
we all think the same.
We all think the same. We all go through the same thing. So it's just crazy how we just go in these circles of, you know, flopping back and forth between everything. Also, what do you do? Like, cause you mentioned you're a coach. Is that your daytime gig? Is that what you do full time?
Yep.
That is what you do full time now. Awesome. So that's great. You know, does that help? I'm sure that's going to help you out a lot through your bodybuilding and prep. Cause I mean, you're at a gym, you know, so you don't have to go back and forth, you know, you can schedule your clients around and it's kind of like you're your own boss at this point.
Honestly, I don't know what else I could do and still, I mean, I know people do construction and whatnot, and I give nothing but my hats off to those people. But, you know, like we're next week, the 1st, we're leaving for Florida and we're going to be there through the 10th.
Yeah.
I don't know too many other jobs where I can take off 10 days in the middle of November to go compete in a bodybuilding show and take my daughter to Disney World for a couple of days just because I want to. But with what I do, 90% of my clientele I can do on my computer while I'm sitting in my condo or on the beach.
You're right.
So
exactly.
I mean, it's definitely a blessing, and I'm extremely thankful for all my clients and getting to do pretty much what I love every single day.
Yeah.
I get to go to the gym. I get to help change other people's lives. I get to put other people on stage and let them, you know, start where I started at one point and hopefully see them prosper and grow through everything as well. So it's like I said, I absolutely love everything about the sport, and I'm glad I get to kind of give back and help some of these younger kids and kind of hopefully set them a little bit straighter and keep them away from some of the crazy shit that a lot of people are doing right now. And
younger kid.
When did you take on coaching full time, man?
I mean, I've been that's what I went to school for, was exercise science. So I became a trainer right afterwards. And then I didn't start coaching people though. Like I know so many people, you go get your 2 times nationally qualified or whatever, and next thing you know, you're a prep coach, even though you were 3 out of 3.
Yeah, right.
You know who you are. But
hey man, why I gotta throw shade at me like that? Fuck.
I'm not.
Oh, come on, bro.
I mean, no, I didn't start. I did a friend of mine was like, I really want to do a show. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to charge you. Let me help you with your nutrition. Let's dial this in. I trust that you're going to follow everything like I want you to do. He did really well. He ended up winning his class. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to start slow. You know, I'm going to take 1 or 2 people on, get them through a show. And then I started having other people like, well, hey, I don't want to do a show. I just want to change my life and lose 30 pounds, or I want to do this. And so I kind of opened up my online coaching to a little bit of everything, with the majority of people wanting to do contests, of course. But I mean, right now I would say probably 40% of my clients have no interest at all in getting on a stage ever. They're just looking at losing some weight, fixing some health issues, getting back into shape, whatever it is. It doesn't have anything to do with bodybuilding, but they end up really enjoying it. I had a 58-year-old lady tell me that she streamed the Olympia the other weekend. She didn't even know what the hell that was until we started coaching, and she's kind of followed my journey, and she's like, I wanted to see what your Super Bowl was like. And she's like, oh my God, those guys are huge.
Yeah.
So
that's pretty awesome.
It's kind of cool to open up some eyes to, because I mean, bodybuilding, when I first started, it was kind of like that taboo thing. Like, you don't really talk about it. The bodybuilders were always the weird guys in the gym, and they're in the bathroom taking steroids, and they're drinking them in their bottles. And so, I mean, now it's a little bit more accepted and mainstream, and everybody wants to be a competitor. But it's also kind of cool to like open up some eyes that somebody would never even have looked at Mr. Olympia or thought about a bodybuilding show, is kind of getting into it, and they'll sit and have a conversation with me about, you know, Big Ramy or Phil Heath or something. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's cool.
It is nice because the same thing that you said, we were talking about that the other day as well, with, you know, how the sport is on such a big come up, where before you used to, you know, tell somebody, you know, that you're competing, they're like, oh, you're competing in what? You know, now you say, oh, I'm a competitor. They're like, oh yeah, what division? Classic physique? You know, what's your favorite pose? Like, right. You know, it's like, whoa, what the fuck? How do you know about all this? But it's a lot more mainstream, right. And it's, you know, with the new divisions being added, it's a lot more attainable for a lot of people. So, you know, there's more people getting into the sport, which, you know, no knock on any of that. It's great. It's bringing money into our sport. You know, something's got to pay for it. So,
exactly.
You know, we still make pennies as top level pros. So, you know, whatever brings more eyes to the sport will definitely help us. So with your coaching, you said that you, right after college, you started coaching. So you pretty much have never done anything outside of this.
No, I mean, I do, on the side, I do some like executive protection security work. That's not a steady thing though. Like, I've gone on tour with a couple artists. If they come to like Indianapolis, when I lived in Orlando, I did multiple shows where I worked basically as a personal security for several major artists. But those are the kind of, I mean, it's either coaching or I'm doing something like that. I've never done anything else.
Huh. That's cool. That's the first time I've ever heard that. We've talked to a bunch of people, but it's always like they were doing something else and they got into the bodybuilding thing. So you kind of, were you a bodybuilding fan at all, like before? Because I know you mentioned that you pretty much had no idea, right? But then after you started competing, did you find yourself being a fan of the sport? Like, or did you start watching the shows, or did that come way after?
Well, when I grew up, my dad, he kind of introduced me to the whole weightlifting thing. When he was younger, by no means was he a bodybuilder, but he lifted weights. He was always in really good shape. So he bought my first weight set, which got me really into the whole lifting weight thing when I was like in middle school. And of course, you go to the grocery store with my mom, and I'd get the Flex magazine with Dorian Yates on it or something. And I'm reading it looking like, oh, I got to buy this supplement, and I got to get this supplement, and I'm going to get like this guy. And I was always a fan of the sport. I didn't really know what all went into it. I mean, at the time, you know, I thought drinking a protein shake and some creatine was going to make me look like Kai Green. And so it was, as I learned and got more involved in the sport, and after I competed, then, of course, I met Ed Nunn. He's a pro from here in Indiana. I met him. He was the guest poser at my first show. And it was the first time I've ever seen a man this big in person. And a friend of mine actually ended up working it out so I could come down and meet him. And I met him in Indianapolis one day, and we kind of just talked bodybuilding for a couple hours. I got to train with him, and that's what really kind of opened my eye to the industry, what's behind it, what it takes to be a pro. And of course, he was going to compete in the Olympia that year. And that was the first time I actually watched the Olympia. I streamed it at home, and I was just like, wow, this is really cool. And that's kind of when I really jumped full into the whole bodybuilding industry, the world, checking, you know, what goes into becoming a top level pro. And I mean, all the work, all the dedication, all the stuff you don't talk about.
You know, it's funny, man, because like you said, you saw that guy, Ed Nunn, right? Is that what you said? Yeah. So like I had a kind of a similar story, like where I saw for the first time my first pro bodybuilder, and it just so happened to be Dallas McCarver.
Okay.
And I'm walking by this fucking guy. I don't even know who he is. I just know he's a fucking giant. And I'm like, holy shit. I mean, he couldn't even fit through the fucking door. Like, this is no joke. Like, I'm watching him, like, having to kind of go sideways. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, that was the first time I was ever just like, in awe of somebody. I was like, holy hell, man, look at this fucking guy. He's huge. And he was guest posing at the Midwest Gladiator at the show that's coming up in a couple weeks. And it was the first bodybuilding show I went to. So it's funny you say that because I don't know, like, Marcel, if you have a similar story like that. Have you ever seen anybody that kind of just woke you up into bodybuilding? You were like, yeah, I want to do this shit, you know?
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
I saw Flex Lewis and Rolly Winkler next to each other.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Flex Lewis is like, I mean, Rolly, he was, to me, I was like, holy fuck, what is wrong with his arms? Let's start off with that. Like, he's got quads attached to his shoulders. Like, you know, and then after that, you know, it was at an expo, Flex Lewis, and I saw Flex Lewis, and I'm like, this motherfucker's wider than he is tall. And he is just like, you saw his forearm, and like you could see as his fingers is moving, it's like this fucking hunk of meat right there that's fucking like fibers moving and shit. And that was when I was like, holy fuck, what is this and how do I get there? You know, that was like my immediate thought. Like, first it was like, what is going on here? And then it was, okay, I want to be that. I want to look like that. I want to be that type of a person where it's like somebody looks at you and you're like, holy shit, how did you do this?
Yeah, you just want to be a fucking freak. Yeah. That's it, man.
That's it, yes.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's like
I fell in love with being a freak.
Pretty much.
100%.
You know, with you being an experienced coach too, you know, we know how much work it takes to become a good bodybuilder, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at what point can you start being a coach? Because you mentioned that everybody and their mother is a coach now, right? So what is you know, is 3 times nationally qualified, you know, on 3 out of 3, it doesn't cut your criteria. So at what point do you think it's okay for somebody to kind of start doing that? Because I know there's a lot of people watching that want to be coaches, and I get questions all the time from people like, oh, I want to get a coach. What should I do? You know, and I'm like, well, fuck, like first, you know, learn a thing or two, and then you got to work and get experience. Nothing's going to make you good at this other than actual hands-on experience.
Exactly. I mean, honestly, the whole 3 out of 3 thing, I mean, that's more of a joke. I get a lot of people and a lot of other coaches that joke with that too. So don't let anybody take offense that's listening to this. You're exactly right. It's more about experience because, I mean, some of the better coaches don't compete or haven't competed, but they know the body, the chemistry, what goes into being a great bodybuilder and how to make that happen through food and training. So I think that it's going to come down to, I mean, you could have all the credentials in the world, but if you can't put those into actual work or into a plan, it doesn't mean anything. So it's all going to come down to experience. And it doesn't necessarily mean you have to go win overalls or you have to be an IFBB pro, but you just have to be able to one, diet yourself. You have to be able to diet someone else and not just jump, you know, headfirst into the pool and say, I'm opening up my business and I'm taking on everybody. It's $250 a month. Let's do this. And load them up with a bunch of drugs and diuretics and say, let's do this. Let's get in shape. I think that, you know, that's kind of how I did it. I started with a friend and I'm like, let me see if I can do this safely, get him into shape, not using anything. He was all natural. And once I was able to do that, then I'm like, okay, let me take on somebody else. Let me take on a female. Let me see how I can diet a female down. Let me see how I can diet down somebody who's not natural. Let me see. And so it was just kind of and I figured out that I'm actually pretty good at it. So then I'm like, okay, now I'm going to start opening up my books a little bit. I'm going to take on some more people. And I mean, I still get clients that I'm like, I'll get their questionnaire back with what's going on with them. And I'm just like, oh,
and the best part is you ask them, they're like, oh, my last coach had me do this. And you're like, what in the fuck? Like, who was your last coach?
Exactly.
Who is your last coach? I want to know, not because I want to, you know, tell everybody about it, because I just want to know who's that type of a, you know, idiot per se.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. So, no, I mean, I think you're right. And a lot of people are looking to get into coaching because, I mean, it can be very successful. You can make good money doing it, and it's something that you can thoroughly love to do. Like, I'm sure you love it. I mean, I love it. I get to do a lot of things because of what I do as a job that I wouldn't be able to do if I worked a normal 9 to 5. So I'm very thankful for that. And I think that for anybody that's looking to become one, it's just like you said, Marcel, it's all about, I mean, experience. You've just you've got to learn, and you've got to keep learning. Yeah. Because the best coaches in the world, they're still learning. And the minute somebody thinks that they're too fucking smart and they don't need to learn anymore, that's when you're done, because there's always more we can learn as coaches, as athletes.
So here's the thing about that. You know, one big thing, obviously there's 100 ways to skin a chicken here, right? Like, each coach has their own different approach that they roll with, that they're comfortable with, not necessarily comfortable with, but that's just their way of doing it. And you can't really take a million ways and put them all together as well. So, like, you know, with the experience, you kind of have to just figure out your own way of doing things and be super fucking good like using your way to do things. Mm-hmm. But what a lot of people tend to do is they think that they'll, you know, well, this approach worked well for me, it's going to work well for everybody. And that's not necessarily the case. You know, you got to learn how to look at things, and you got to learn how to adjust each person's lifestyle, body, metabolism, digestion, health into each particular program. So, you know, just study as much as you can, learn other ways, and be open-minded. Mm-hmm. You know, I see a lot of people are so like closed-minded to it. They think that their way is the only way, and there's no other. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's no other way of getting things done right, and that's not true. Sometimes it's like Sometimes it's like, oh shit. Well, my approach that I've been using for you is not particularly good for what we're trying to, you know, approach here. Then you got to take a step back and say, like, okay, well, let's try this way. And, you know, a lot of coaches are just very stuck in their own ways. And I just think, you know, there's a lot out there now.
Well, and like Coty said earlier too, man, I like the idea of taking on some free clients at the beginning, man. Oh, you know, and especially when you're just starting off. I don't. You're charging people and you're just starting off. I'm like, you know,
I've had a few.
Stop that. You know,
I've had a few of actually my clients who've done their first show, and then I see them. You know, actually, one of them actually messaged me to ask about help with their client that they took on, and they only competed once. And I'm like, you're getting somebody ready for a show, and okay. And then I say, okay, well, what's wrong? He's like, well, he kind of stalled, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, well, just send me what you got going with him, and let me kind of see if I can help you out with anything, kind of take a look. He sends me this stuff, and it's like his exact same program that I wrote for him. The exact same thing to the T.
Cookie cutter.
To the T. It's his program that he was on. I'm like, well, that looks kind of familiar. Oh, I wrote this. Oh, I got it. I see what's going on here. So, you know, and then it's like funny because he was like, oh, well, he's just not changing and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, that's just not how
he's not you, bro.
I'm like, he's not you. That's not how this works, you know? So you can't just take something that you've been doing and regurgitate it and give it to somebody else and hope that, you know, it's all going to be great. Or, you know, when I'm sure you guys run into this where a lifestyle client is getting coached by you and they're like, oh, well, my husband has been following my diet too. And I'm like, yeah, no, it doesn't work that way.
That's not going to work.
You can't just buy one diet from me thinking that you can put your husband on it and everything is going to be dandy. It's tailored to you. Like, this is why we are a different type of a coach. We don't just give you a program to follow for forever on end. It's altered week to week to your needs, not your husband's needs. We don't know what kind of changes your husband is making. If your husband is eating as much as you, there's a problem there. You know, we need to change this pretty quick, and we need to fix that. Yeah. So, but you know, there's some interesting coaches out at the moment. You know, that you kind of look at it and you're like, how is he charging people money? How is that even possible? You know, how does he sleep at night knowing that he's charging people money for what he's doing? And with that being said, right, there's a lot of coaches coming in to the sport now because the sport is coming up and people are seeing this as an easy way to make money. That's how people look at it. They think they could sit at home and they can make money and everything's going to be great. But there is a lot of safety things when it comes to health that needs to be looked at, that, you know, when people have no idea what they're doing, you can hurt somebody, you know,
100%.
And there's a lot of, you know, lately there's been few misfortunate events, you know, that, you know, people kind of look at and say, oh, maybe it was their coach that pushed them to a certain level or something like that. And a lot of times, you know, it's not that. So do you guys think, you know, that's a question for both of you guys. Are coaches responsible for people's health when it comes to competing? Or is it the competitor that's responsible for their health?
I mean, to a degree, both really, you know, to me. So I look at it, you know, you as a competitor, you know, okay, the risks and what you're doing, and you still you're putting the fucking pills in your mouth, and you're the one doing all the shit. You know, he's just laying it out for you, or whoever your coach is, she. You know, so to me, it's both. You know, they both have they're both responsible equally.
How about you, Coty?
I can completely agree with Isaac on that one. I mean, obviously, like, we can set out the best, safest protocol in the world, but somebody could react differently than somebody else. Yeah. I mean, as a competitor and as a coach, so I'm looking at it from both aspects, and I've had this conversation with several people after some of the things that have happened in recent months. I feel like it can fall on both, but you can't point fingers at anyone and say it's completely their fault. I mean, again, like Isaac said, he's laying the plan out, but at the end of the day, you're taking the pills, you're taking the shot, you're doing whatever it is that you're doing, you're choosing to do that. So, yep. I mean, you're making a decision based on your own judgment at that point. Like, yes, we obviously trust our coaches or we wouldn't hire them, but if I ever question something that my coach sent me, like, I'm going to question it. Like, you know, are you sure you want me doing that? Because, I mean, I'm not saying that you're wrong, but what I know is that seems a little dangerous.
Yeah. So,
and if they can tell me why,
here's the point that I'm trying to get to. There's a kind of a misconnect that's happening a lot between coaches and competitors. You know, competitors are trusting their coaches almost too much, where it's like, you know, they're scared to say anything to them about, hey, I don't feel comfortable with doing that. Hey, my body feels like it can't take this. You know what I mean?
Right.
And there's so many people that just keep that shit quiet, and they're just like, well, coach said it, so I'm going to do it, and I'm not going to bring it up to him. And, you know, there needs to be some kind of a level, like, if you're choosing to do this stuff and you're obviously choosing to do it not the natural way, you better bet your fucking ass to get educated in some way, shape, or form and know what these things can do to you, what things they can cause, you know, what are, you know, some of the things that could pop up somewhere down the road with you doing that. So just because a coach tells you to do it doesn't mean you should be doing it. Even though I'm an old guy, I truly believe in you got to follow what your coach says. But if you don't agree with it, you got to have a conversation about it. You got to say something doesn't feel right here. And if the coach doesn't want to have that conversation with you, then there's definitely something there.
You need a new coach.
Exactly. So,
but to take that a step further, if the coach, for example, tells you to take X, you might have the competitor that takes Y because they're like, oh, well, if this is working this well, if I take more, then I'm going to get in shape quicker. I'm going to have to do less cardio. I can have that extra Pop-Tart, whatever the case may be.
Exactly.
Without the coach's knowledge. So the coach has no idea there's extra things being put into the diet. Maybe they're doing an hour of cardio when they're only supposed to do 30 because you know how we get where we're not as lean as we want to be. So if we push things, or you're told to take 80 micrograms of cleanse, so you take 120 because that's going to make me leaner quicker.
I've done that.
yes,
I've done that. I can't. I'm not going to call it a kettlebell. I've done that. I've actually done that, and that's that part I was talking about where my head can go sometimes. That's why, I don't want to. I want to get through to people where, you can't just blame coaches if something bad happens to a competitor, because how many competitors have they had and nothing happened? And you don't know what that particular person did or didn't do. I've done that exactly what you've said. I've had my head go sideways, and I've taken up my, trend. I've taken up my clean. I've upped all these things. I did more cardio. I ate less. I've done it all, even though that's not the protocol that my coach wanted to have. Like, I've done it. I've had my head go sideways. So I'm sure that other people have done it probably even more than me.
Exactly.
So it's like, you don't know the full story of what's going on here. Or it's like, oh, take a half a diazide or take a quarter of a diazide. Right. It's like, why don't I take the fucking whole tab? Like,
I'm gonna take the whole thing.
Trust me, me and Isaac experienced somebody taking a whole tab of diazide for just because, because they thought that's
they're gonna get extra crispy.
They're gonna get exactly. You're chasing that.
I have no water in my body whatsoever.
Okay, let's pop a Bumex, like, a whole diazide. Let's just do it all. So man. you can't always, in my opinion, you can't always blame the coach. I think that the competitors should be 100 more times liable for what happens to them than the coaches should be. Unless you have somebody, obviously, but we've heard of some fucking insane protocols but when you just look at it and you're like, I wouldn't put that in an elephant, let alone myself, Well,
but then even the person that's putting that together, so the client has to look at that program and they're going to say, well, holy shit, okay, let me do it. So again, even a crazy protocol by a coach that's putting crazy shit out there, if the client's still going to go ahead and do it like it's okay.
Exactly my point. Get fucking at least slightly educated. Ask questions. Ask questions about this stuff. Like, people laugh at fucking Google University all the time, right? But you can find out a lot of things on there, as a competitor coming up, where you're like, something seems off, and you look it up, and, it's like half the dosage that what you're, somebody's telling you to do. Well, maybe that you should think about that and talk to your coach about that and say, hey, this dosage seems high. This seems off. Mm-hmm. Like, they're Google University. Yeah, it's funny, but those are tools for you to use, and ask people about, do you think this is right? Do you think this is wrong? Have a conversation, get educated. Don't just take shit.
It's funny. It's funny you say that, man. Cause like, before I even got into bodybuilding, before I even got into jumping on gear, I remember like for like a year or two, I was so intrigued by fucking steroids that I was like Googling all the fucking different steroids just to see what they fucking did. Like, the benefits and the side effects. I knew more about steroids than guys that were probably using them at the gym, Yeah. And it was just crazy. Like, that's how I kind of came up knowing what I know now is just, dude, I would study that shit like at nighttime, 1 a.m. I'm on my phone just reading shit.
Yeah.
I did the same thing.
I couldn't put it down. I was so fucking intrigued by that shit, man. It's crazy.
Yeah. That's the type of stuff I'm talking about. Like, if you're gonna put it in your body, like, if you go to a doctor, right? Like, you're putting all this trust into a doctor that he gives you the right dosage and stuff like that, But people like, will be like, oh, I'm not gonna take this full dose of a painkiller because that sounds high to me, right? Well, it's the same fucking thing here, and especially that 99.999% of the coaches in the world are not fucking doctors. Let me promise you that. Like, I'm not sure there's one doctorate degree in the sport of bodybuilding. I don't think there is. I can't think of one.
That John Jewett.
But does he have a doctorate? I think he has a master's.
Yeah, I think it.
Sure.
I don't know.
John Jewett is smart as fuck. Okay, one of the best minds in bodybuilding by far, for sure, 100%, hands down. Mm-hmm. But you know what I'm saying? Like, if you'll question your doctor before you question your coach sometimes, which is kind of crazy. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Agreed.
You'll question something that your doctor tells you to do to get better, but when your coach tells you to take 800 milligrams of Tren a week, you're like, fuck it, let's go.
Let's go.
YOLO.
YOLO.
Yeah, let's throw in some T3 and Clen. All right, coach, let's do the same.
Let's fucking sprinkle it all in there. Let's go.
Yeah, the magic concoction. Tren, Clen, T3. Let's go. We got this shit.
So if you're listening, basically what we're saying is make sure you fucking educate yourself on the stuff that's going into your body. Please do that.
Yeah.
Don't be an idiot.
Like, you got it all right here.
Yes.
Use this.
It's all right there. Exactly, man.
Yeah.
God damn.
Use it. It's not, the greatest source, but it's a source. It's there to be used.
It can get you started.
It can get you answers that you need to make sure that whatever you're thinking is right. Whatever you're feeling is right or wrong, or, use that to your advantage. Don't just take something because somebody tells you to. Or even if your gym bro is like, well, I did this. Cool. You did this, but will this have the same effect on me? Probably not. Everybody's different. Everybody's bodies is different, like my blood work could be sideways after just, running a little bit of low dose something, and Isaac can nuke his body and he's fine. Like, he's a fucking cockroach. He just doesn't go away,
right.
So it's different for everybody. You got to make sure that don't listen to the gym bro. Take body signs that your body's giving you, do your blood work, get slightly educated in the topic. You don't have to be a chemist to understand all this, but have a basic understanding of what you're putting into your body. Don't just do it because you want to get huge, because guess what? You're not going to get huge because you're going to end up hurting yourself. And then, you're going to be smaller than you've ever been in your life because you're not healthy, So, but
all right. Hey, Coty. So we're coming up on an hour, man. Obviously we don't want to keep you too long. We know you got that refeed coming up, and I know how important that is. But I want to ask you a few more questions, man. And,
okay. What you got?
I know you just recently came on Condemned Labz, right?
Yep.
And who were you with before Condemned?
I
remember seeing you with Muscle Skulls, the clothing company, because we were all tied to Muscle Skulls at one point.
Oh, no shit. You were with Muscle Skulls too?
Yeah. I actually met him through Mike, Swollen Pitbull. And I started rocking some of his gear a couple years ago, and I really liked his stuff. But supplement company wise, originally I was with Rich Piana's 5%. Rich and I were real good friends. And then I signed with Rule 1 in 2016, and I'd been with them ever since up until this year.
Right.
No, nothing. I won't say anything negative. Things just weren't working out. And, I've known Yari forever. I've met Michael at, I believe, the Arnold a few years ago. And of course I knew Mike, and I've known, Alberto and a couple of the other guys on the squad. So Yari and I have been friends for a minute. And
then your fiance Liz came on.
And right? she got on, at the beginning of this year. So of course, I'm trying some of the products and checking out Convict and Humaslin, and I'm doing my little thing, and things weren't really working out. I felt like Rule 1 was going in a different direction that doesn't really fit me anymore. And so I shot Yari a message one day, and I was just like, hey, so is Condemned looking for any athletes, And he basically open armed. He's like, you just let me know. Let's talk. And and once that happened, I mean, like I said, I couldn't be happier. I feel like it's a much better fit for me, personality wise, look wise, the whole vibe.
I was about to say
over here.
When you said Rule 1, I was like automatically like, nope. Yeah, I can't see him with Rule 1. Too clean, too pretty for him. It's like we were talking about that the other day. With Dusty, it's like you got to fit the brand. You got to really fit the brand. And I think you do that well with Condemned Labz. You got to look for it. I haven't talked to you before this at all, but listening to you talk a little bit, it's like, all right, yeah, he belongs here. He belongs here. I
appreciate that.
He's a bodybuilder's bodybuilder. He talks the talk, but walks the walk. And, he's a bodybuilder, man. He's a good dude. He belongs here. So, but when he said Rule 1, first thing I was like, no.
But he said 5%. He said 5% first.
5%. So. I was like, okay. I was like, all right, makes sense. Yeah. But I think you found your home here, brother. I think you did.
I think so too. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Honestly, I couldn't be happier the last few months. I mean, like I said, everybody's really welcomed me on, and it's been a really good experience. And it's really, honestly, it's been kind of game changing as far as this prep has gone too, with the supplements that I get to use, and just the whole team aspect is so much different than it had been.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to 13 more days showing out for Condemned.
Yeah, and I'm sure you're going to do great. what are some of the staples that you use right now in your prep really quick?
Well, let's see. I actually got some sitting right back here.
Okay.
I've got my Humislin. That's getting ready to go with us while we go get this steak and some potato. I use Confined. Confined's in my intra workout every day. On my high days, I definitely put C Block with my Confined. Let's see. DNA Dispatch. I don't do a lot of Convict right now. Just I don't want the extra stimulant. Only on certain days, maybe like once or twice a week, we'll have to throw the Convict in. I mean, off season wise, it's happening every day. But I use DNA Dispatch pretty much every day right now.
How much do you love DNA Dispatch? Because
you know what? That's honestly probably my top 2 product from Condemned. Like I use the shit out of it.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's my favorite product by far. Like I really can't train. Well, I can't. I'm gonna sound like a bitch when I say I can't train without it. But like training without it is just
it's not as good.
It's mental.
Well, and that's I tried some of Liz's when she first came on, and I'm like, oh, these especially on like arm day, I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. and now especially being this lean, like when I get pumped, it's like holy shit.
Now have you tried some bro science with it? Like 6 is great, but 8 is better. Have you tried that?
You know what? Well, like that combo we had just a little bit ago about doing more than you're supposed to. No, I haven't. 6 has been my limit just because with everything else involved in prep, I'm like, I'm not trying to stick anything else in my body right now. 6 is, my pumps have been really good. I'm not going to complain.
Oh, that's great.
That's funny, man. It's funny because Yari stayed over here for like, 3 days one time? And he's like, yeah, man. He's like, he's like, how many you using? I'm like, 6. He's like, I usually do 7, go 1 extra. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, fuck it, I'll start doing 7 too.
Just one.
Yeah.
Just one. He's like, I go, why do you do 7? He's like, I don't know, I just like to do 7.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right.
See, I've done it before where like I pour them out to my hand and I count them and I'm like, I don't feel like throwing this back in. So I've done like 7 or 8, but like total accidents, nothing like crazy. But I was just funny.
Yeah, an accident.
Hey, it was a good accident. It gave me like a, fuck it, let's just run with it.
Stupid pump.
Yeah.
I'm trying 7 tomorrow for legs. I'll let you guys know how it goes.
There you go.
You might.
Go fuck it. Do 8.
Fuck it.
Oh,
fuck it.
YOLO.
Yeah.
Hey, you got to do like we used to. We used to open the caps and pour them into pre-workout and shit.
No, you gotta get straight.
Yeah, no, it's the worst fucking taste ever, man. God damn.
Wait, didn't you do that to pump up for the show, Isaac? Didn't you open the DNA Dispatch caps? I remember you saying that.
I had fucking 4 ounces of wine. I had some lockdown in there and fucking like six caps of DNA Dispatch, man. I'm sitting there like swirling it together and I'm sipping on it. I'm walking like as I'm like walking to the show. Like I started trying to get pumped up. I'm like, hey, fucking
what is some other weird shit that you guys have done before a show?
Oh man.
Have you guys done any weird shit before?
I want to talk about it.
I don't know, man. I mean, I've tried the wine thing. I didn't really like it too much. Honestly, the craziest thing was, Cynthia James from CJ Suits.
Yeah.
I love CJ, and she's done my suits for the last, 7-8 years. So I won't rock anybody else. But 2 years ago in Florida, she was backstage with me, and she pulled me over and she goes, "Flex, you're not ready." And I'm like, okay. So she's like, "Don't say a word, you eat." And she started just shoving things into my mouth while I stood there. And she's like fixing my suit. And she's telling me the story about Dexter Jackson in 2008 when he won the Olympia, that she did the same thing to him. And she's like, so I'm just sitting here with my mouth full. I have nothing, like no saliva. I'm dry and I'm trying to chew. I got Cheetos and I've got these peanut butter things that I don't know what they were, but CJ, if you're listening, I need to know what those peanut butter things were. I hope you're backstage on the 6th. But she's sitting there and then she goes, "All right, Flex," pulls my skin and she goes, "Now go win." and I went out on stage and came back, and she's like, "I told you."
Man,
that's a good.
Hey, if Dexter Jackson could fucking do it, fuck it, might as well.
When she said that, I'm just like,
okay,
keep going,
Yeah,
put it in. I don't even care. Just give it to me.
Yeah, dude, that's
that's
funny.
Man.
I know Isaac has done some weird stuff because you had some little shaking problem on stage, right?
Oh, dude.
So,
I mean, I don't even know if I want to admit half the shit, but
he pretty much horse tranquilized himself.
Yeah, you know, I think, yeah, it was. I had wine, right? I think I had probably like almost a whole Xanax, maybe a Xanax and a quarter. I don't know. What else? Oh, I probably took fucking a couple hits.
And then Delta 8 gummies.
And Delta 8 gummies, dude. And I was like,
how'd you even get on stage? I'd have been behind.
Man, ask him, man. I was like, I was cooler than the other side of the fucking pillow, man. I walked right up there. I'm like,
cooler than a
fucking stood up there. I was like, let's go.
Yeah, he was just, it was funny. Everybody was like resting on the side, you know, during the call outs, and he's just fucking fucking stone face, no expression,
dude,
just fucking
like a statue,
like a statue. That's it. Just fucking hanging out, happy as a pig and shit, just hanging out in his pose, you know, in his own world. So it's pretty funny.
Yeah, man.
There's been some weird stuff. I've seen people do some weird shit before stage too, but that's a whole nother topic that we could get into at some point.
I'll say we'll have to do that one day.
It's like I've seen people scarf down like a whole silk pie, man. Like I've seen people drink a fucking shake. Like I'm talking like a straight up milkshake. Somebody's just fucking smoothie, sucking that bitch up before getting on stage, and I'm sitting there like, what is going? Should I be doing that? This is when I was still fresh in the game, so I'm sitting there like, and I'm like, should I be getting a shake right now? Should I be sucking down a fucking gallon of smoothie right now? Like, what's going on here?
So I watched a bikini girl, eat an entire jar of peanut butter next to me backstage at the 2016 Illinois State show. She ate the whole
going on stage.
The whole damn thing.
Don't say that myself.
and her friend looks at her and she goes, I mean, she's got a spoon and she is like fist deep in this jar, just. I'm getting sick, and I love peanut butter, but I'm sitting here like, and her friend, she's like, "Are you supposed to have that much peanut butter?" My coach said to have some peanut butter, and she goes, "Some or the whole jar?" And she goes, "What does it matter at this point?" And she just is. I mean, by the time she got ready for the stage, her hand was covered in peanut butter, and she didn't win. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
Did you ask her if she carved up on avocados?
No, it was that moment where I just kind of was like, I'm just gonna lay here and do my thing. I'm not gonna get involved in any of what's happening.
I'm gonna walk away now.
I've seen Isaac carve down like, you know, those, like, not the little jars of peanut butter. I'm talking like the big jars. You know, like the big.
It was not a big jar,
bro. It was a big Jiffy jar. Okay, it was not the little one. It was not the single little ones, dude. It was a bigger one. It was
Smart Balance. It was Smart Balance.
Right? But they don't sell there you go. Yeah. So see, it wasn't the regular small one, but between this is like, I don't know, how long was I on stage for? 7 minutes, 8 minutes max.
Yeah.
Let's call it that.
You were doing the overall.
Yeah. And this guy ate 2 muffins. Right? It was 2 muffins and half a jar of peanut butter, or 3 muffins.
Oh yeah.
And in 7 to 8 minutes, and I came back, and he's just fucking.
I was done, by the way. So we're just
no, he was done. Yeah, no, he wasn't going on stage. He was already done. But by the time I left and came back, and I'm like, what the fuck? Then after that, this is just the beginning, right? After that, he ate half a tray of brownies that what was that girl's name brought? Petey's. Hannah brought. He ate half a freaking tray of brownies. Then,
oh my god.
Yep. Then he split one of those big anabolic cookies with me. And then he went out to eat, and he sent us a picture with like, it was like hot dogs, burgers, and fries, and I mean, whole freaking thing. And I'm telling you, I've never seen anybody eat as much as this guy has. And still,
you don't know how hungry you're making me.
But here's the thing, though. He functions fine. Like I would go into a coma. He's just He's like, all right, whatever, you know. And then a couple hours later, he's like, he likes smoothies or milkshakes or whatever. He went out. He's like freaking blending his smoothie at his house, and he sends me a video of him fucking drinking a big ass smoothie. I'm like, what are you doing, bro? That's awesome. Yeah, he's an endless pit. And then the week after that, he got back on stage. Believe it or not,
and won. After I gained 25 pounds.
He gained. I believe he gained and lost 25 pounds in a week.
Wow. That's what I'm talking about.
I don't recommend that to anybody. Yeah. It was not fun, dude.
He sent me a picture. He had like water pockets in his face, like, and his leg. Like, he was just, it was awesome. But it was bad, he got it off and he won a show. I mean, that's it. You know,
that's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
That's it, man.
Would you do it again?
Hey, real quick. No, I would not. Never again. Never. All right, Coty. Real quick, man. What is Coty Losee's favorite cheat?
Oh, my go-to sushi.
Sushi. Even in the off season.
Even in the off season, I got this little spot we go to. Everywhere I ever go, I find this spot, and it's always find an all-you-can-eat spot. And I will sit there and smash 15 to 18 rolls, and I'm talking the rolls, not the pieces, but the rolls.
Yeah, the rolls. Yeah, right. That's a lot. I don't think people realize how much that is.
That's a lot of food.
That's like a $300 sushi tab.
That's why I go to the all-you-can-eat spot, because it's
$25.99. Some of the prep bullshit that we go through, it's like, I have 25 pieces of nigiri. Like, motherfucker, that's like $200 of sushi for myself.
Right.
No, I don't want to do that. That's rice and fish.
Right. Rice and fish it is. And Coty, real quick. So, what's the end game goal for you? You know, obviously you're chasing the pro card at the moment, right? That's goal number one. How far do you want to take this? Do you want to, go as far as you can, or are you just gonna kind of see where it takes you and focus on the coaching aspects of things? Or
before you answer that, Coty, how old are you, real quick?
36.
36. Oh, you're my age. Okay, we're the same age. Okay.
So
I just want to know, because we're in the same page, and so
honestly, I want to take it as far as I can. I mean, I don't like to put like limits or restraints on anything, so I'm not going to say, I just want to get a pro card just to get the pro card. Obviously, that's a goal. I mean, it's like strapping on your football helmet the first time you want to play in the NFL. Yeah. So it's kind of the same aspect. I'm also a realist. I know I'm not going to be Big Ramy. I'm not going to be Brandon Curry. I'm not going to be, one of the top 5 Olympians. I think I can do a pro show. I could be competitive eventually, and I would love to do that.
Right.
Obviously, my overall goal is to be able to continue to take care of my daughter and my family and do the things that I love to do, and that is all coming from bodybuilding. Bodybuilding gives me that push, that drive, the I guess the structure that helps me with the rest of my life. So as far as the whole bodybuilding thing, whether I have a pro card tomorrow or in 10 years, I'm going to still probably live this lifestyle for the rest of my life in one way or another. Maybe not always on stage, but still doing these things. But the end goal would be to get the pro card, use that for my coaching business. Cause every time you can slap on another title, that just helps you with clientele and just continue to, enjoy every part of this. Like I have been for the last few years. It's just been a great journey and a great way of living. So
amen to that, man. A lot of people forget to do that part, which is enjoy it, because you don't know when you're not going to be able to do it anymore. So it's hard. We all as bodybuilders get caught up in like the day-to-day of go and push, and we never sit back and really enjoy it a lot of the time, where it's like, man, you don't know when you're not going to be able to do this anymore, So
right.
So I like that you said that. Respect for that, because the enjoyment part gets lost in the translation. And for me, some of the times it for sure has. The whole enjoyment part gets lost. So I like that you said that.
Definitely.
Isaac, you got any other questions, comments, concerns?
Oh man, I gotta get this man to his steak and potatoes.
I know he's waiting there for it. Go ahead and plug your Instagram for everybody. Tell them how they can find you and, you know, all your socials.
Your business.
Your business, yeah.
Your business.
Plug your business and everything.
Yeah. On social Instagram, you can find me at CLO34. My business page is at Team Losee. It's connected to my personal page, so go to that first. Also on Facebook, Twitter, under the same. YouTube channel is going up soon. More info from that is also going to be on my Instagram. Basically, I run most of my stuff on Instagram. My website and everything's on there as well. So at CLO34, and we can go from there.
Perfect.
Yeah. Nice.
And then Isaac, hit him with the magic 4.
Yes, please like, comment, subscribe, and share.
Like,
Share
is a big one.
Share.
Yeah, motherfuckers, share it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of time and effort that goes into these things, but no, we appreciate everybody tuning in. Coty, thanks for your time, brother. Wish you nothing but the best of luck at your show. You look killer. You know, I personally never talked to you. I enjoy talking to you. You're a cool dude. You're in the right spot, man. You're a bodybuilder, and I respect the hell out of that. So thank you for your time, man.
Thank you guys for having me on, and I appreciate everything. Thank you for welcoming me on the team, and I look forward to representing for you guys 13 days.
Yeah,
That's
bro.
right. Show out. Keep
What's up,
grinding.
man?
All right. And that's it for this episode. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Yes, sir.